Okay, this is going to sound really scary, but it's going to be okay. We are going to divide polynomials with long division. So it's probably been a hot minute since you did long division. So we're going to look at long division from elementary school, and then we're going to apply what we remember about it to polynomials. So learning target is I can divide polynomials using long division. Alright, let's do this problem together. So I was not there in your journey through elementary school, so I'm not sure how you learned it. But whatever's being divided goes in the little division box, division bar. I'm not even sure what you call it. You're dividing by 3. That is called your divisor. So it goes on the outside. So what you do is you look at these first two numbers. You don't look at 243 altogether. You just look at 3 and 2. Is there anything you can multiply 3 by to get 2? Or how many times can you divide 2 by 3? See, that doesn't really make sense because it's not a whole number. So then what we do is we're going to look at the next two, 24 and 3. So you can think about it as, what would you multiply 3 by to get 24? Or what's 24 divided by 3? So you would have to multiply 8 by 3 to get 24. So then you write it up top. Then what you would have done is the number you wrote up top, the 8, you would multiply it by the divisor. So 3 times 8 is 24, and you would have wrote it right there. And if you remember, then you subtract the number you just wrote. So 2 minus 2 is 0. I don't need to put a 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. So all of that cancels out, which is what you wanted to happen. The only thing you have left is a 3, and you would just bring it down. Okay. Then you would look at this number that you're dividing by and this number. No longer looking at 243, just at 3 and 3. What would you multiply 3 by to get 3? Or what is 3 divided by 3? And the number you get, you'd write up top. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. Then whenever you wrote something up there, what you just wrote, you would multiply by the divisor. 3 times 3 is 3, and then you would subtract. 3 minus 3 is 0. What this means is 81 is your answer, and your remainder would be 0. And you could even say 81 is a factor of 243 because the remainder equals 0. Okay, if that made no sense and it really bugs you, then go to YouTube or Google and look up long division. Okay, but we're going to move on. That's the basic premise behind this. So this looks a lot scarier, I know, but it's the exact same steps that we just talked about. Okay, so the thing that's being divided right here goes in the division bar. Okay, and then your divisor goes on the outside. And just like when we did 3 and 243, we don't look at the whole thing together. We're going to look at this and this. What would you multiply x by to get x squared? The only thing that you can multiply by would be x. Then whenever you write it up top, you multiply by the divisor. So x times x is x squared. X times 8 is 8x. And then when you wrote it down here, you changed everything to subtraction. Or think about changing it to its opposite sign. So if it was already subtraction, you would change it to positive. Okay, so an x squared minus an x squared is 0. Don't have to write 0. A 3x minus an 8x is a negative 5x. And then you still have this, so you're just going to bring it down. Okay. And now you're looking at this x and this negative 5x. What would you multiply x by to get negative 5x? And the only thing that would work is negative 5. Then whenever you write something up top, you multiply it by the divisor. So x times a negative 5 is a negative 5x. Negative 5 times an 8 is a negative 40. And then remember, we subtract what we just wrote, or change everything to its opposite sign. So a negative 5x plus 5x cancels out 0. A negative 43 plus 40 is a negative 3. Okay, so here's my answer. What you write up top is your answer, so x minus 5, and the number down here is your remainder. So you might have done something like this in middle school or elementary school. The way we do it in Math 3 is we're going to write it like this. So x minus 5 minus 3 divided by what we were actually divided by, x plus 8. That's how you're going to write remainders from now on. That's how you're going to do it in Math 3. That's how you're going to see it in pre-cal if you ever take pre-cal. So it's just the number that you were left with the remainder divided by your divisor. Okay, so I knew that's a lot. We'll do it again. Okay, so the part that's being divided goes in your division bar. The divisor goes on the outside. Alright, and we don't look at the whole thing all at once. We just look at the first two terms. And you just have to think, what would you multiply an x by to get x cubed? The only thing that would work is x squared. Whenever you write something up top, you're going to multiply it by the divisor. So an x squared times an x is an x cubed. An x squared times a negative 2 is a negative 2x squared. Okay, and then I'm going to change everything to the opposite sign, because that's what you do in long division. X cubed minus x cubed cancels out. 5x squared plus 2x squared is a 7x squared. Now you're looking, let me get a different color. Now you're looking here and here. What would you multiply x by to get 7x squared? The only thing that you could multiply by would be a 7x. Whatever you write up top, you're going to multiply by the divisor. So a 7x times an x is a 7x squared. 7x times a negative 2 is a negative 14x. I apologize, I forgot to bring this down. Alright, now the part we just wrote in green, we're going to change to the opposite sign. So a 7x squared minus 7x squared cancels out. A negative 7x plus 14x is a positive 7x. And we're just going to keep going further. Alright, so you're looking at this number and this. What would you multiply an x by to get a 7x? The only thing you can multiply by would be 7. Okay, and anything you write up top, you multiply by the divisor. 7 times x is 7x. I did it again, forgot to bring this down. Alright, and now 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Now the part we just wrote in purple, we're going to change to the opposite sign. Alright, so a 7x minus a 7x cancels out. 2 plus a 14 is a 16. So our answer is up here, x squared plus 7x plus 7, x squared plus 7x plus 7. 16 is our remainder, but the way we write remainders, plus 16 divided by, and you just write what you were actually dividing by. And you were dividing by x minus 2. So 16 over x minus 2. There's your final answer. Looks a little weird, but it's the same steps of long division that you learned a long, long time ago. Alright, we're going to do this one. So we're just going to practice. So we're dividing 2x squared minus 16x plus 19. That goes in our division bar. Our divisor is x minus 7. It goes outside. Okay, so we're going to look at the first terms. What would you multiply an x by to get 2x squared? The only thing you could do would be a 2x. Whatever I write up top, I'm going to multiply by the divisor. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 7, negative 14x. Now I'm going to change the part in blue to their opposite sides. 2x squared minus a 2x squared cancels out. Negative 16x squared plus 14x squared is negative 2x. I don't know why I was saying x squared. My bad. I'm going to bring down the 19. Now I'm going to look at these terms. What would you multiply an x by to get negative 2x? The only thing that works is negative 2. Anything I write up top, I'm going to have to multiply by the divisor. So a negative 2 times an x is a negative 2x. Negative 2 times a negative 7 is a positive 14. And now the part I just wrote in yellow, I'm going to change to the opposite signs. Alright. A negative 2x plus a 2x cancel out. 19 minus 14, is 5. And there's nothing I can multiply an x by to get a 5, so that's how I know that I'm done. Alright, so my final answer is the part I wrote up top, 2x minus 2, and then I have a remainder of 5, and the way we write it, plus 5 divided by what we were dividing by, x minus 7. So that's going to be my final answer. That looked a little weird, sorry, it's kind of ugly. Alright, so I want you to try this one. I want you to pause the video and actually try it, and then if you get stuck, play the video, go back and rework it, see if you can figure out your mistake. And then if you need extra help, you can always contact me. So pause the video in 1, 2, 3. We're going to look at the first terms only. The only thing you can multiply x by to get x cubed is x squared. Now I'm going to multiply what I just wrote by the two divisors. And x squared times an x is an x cubed. X squared times a negative 1, negative 1x squared. I'm going to change the part in blue to the opposite sides. 3x minus 3x cancels out. 4x squared plus 1x squared is 5x squared. Minus 6x. Now I'm going to look at these terms. The only thing I can multiply an x by to get 5x squared is a 5x. And now anything I write up top, I multiply by the divisor. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times negative 1, negative 5x. The part I just wrote, I'm going to change the opposite sign. This cancels out. Negative 6x plus 5x is a negative x. If that bothers you, you can write a negative 1x. Now I'm looking this term and this term. The only thing I can multiply an x by to get negative 1x is a negative 1. And then I'm going to multiply what I just wrote by the divisor. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. I'm going to change everything I just wrote to the opposite sign. That cancels out. 8 plus a negative 1 is 7. My final answer is going to be x squared plus 5x minus 1 plus 7 over x minus 1. If you got that right, you are a beast. You're awesome. If you didn't get it right, see if you can figure out your mistake. If not, contact me. If not, then you just don't really want to learn it. Okay, moving on. So, Notice this says danger, be careful of missing power. So if you look at what you're dividing, you got x cubed, you got negative 17x, and you got plus 32. What you don't have is you don't have an x squared. So an x squared is usually between an x cubed and an x. So the only thing that we're going to do different is you're kind of going to put like a placeholder there. So you're going to write 0x squared, just so you remember that you have 0x squared. If not, it can kind of throw off your problem a little bit. It's not a big deal, but it's a little deal. Okay, so what would you multiply an x by to get x cubed? X squared. Anything I write up here, I'm going to multiply to the divisor. An x squared times an x is an x cubed. X squared times 5, 5x squared. Everything I just wrote, I'm going to change the opposite sign. Let me do a different color. This cancels out. 0x squared minus 5x squared, negative 5x squared. Bring down the next part. Now I'm looking here and here. What would you multiply an x by to get negative 5x squared? Negative 5x. Whatever you write, you multiply by the divisor. Negative 5x times x is negative 5x squared. Negative 5x times 5 is negative 25x. I'm going to change everything to the opposite sign. This cancels out. This goes to 8x. Bring down the next part. Now I'm looking here and here. What would you multiply an x by to get 8x? 8. Whatever you write up top, multiply by your divisor. 8 times x is 8x. 8 times 5 is 40. Everything you just wrote, change to the opposite sign. Oh, I was trying to move the page, sorry. Alright, this cancels out. This becomes negative 8. Alright, so my final answer would be x squared minus 5x plus 8 with a remainder of 8 over x plus 5 because that's what you were divided by. Ooh, that is so fun. Okay. So I want you to try this one, pause the video, see if you can do it. Be careful of the missing powers because there are 2 missing powers. Alright, check your answer. If you miss something, see if you can find your mistake. That's how you learn. And if you can't figure out what you did wrong, or maybe I did something wrong, contact me. Alright, let's move on a little bit. This is an EOC problem, and the first time I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. But then I realized it's really not. Okay. Oh, I was trying to move this over. There we go. Alright, so this is what's being divided. It goes in the division box, or in the division bar, or division house, whatever you call it. The divisor goes outside. We do the same steps, so look at the first 2 terms. What's the only thing you can multiply x squared by to get x squared? 1. Whatever we write up top, we're going to multiply by the divisor. 1 times x squared is x squared. 1 times negative 3x is negative 3x. 1 times negative 40, negative 40. I'm going to change everything I just wrote to the opposite sign. This cancels out. This becomes x minus, plus, that's bad. 3. Yeah, that looks really ugly. Alright, so here's my answer. 1 plus remainder x plus 3 over what you were dividing by. Alright, so answer choice A. And that's how you would have done that EOC problem. Okay, let's talk about this thing. It's called the remainder theorem, and it looks really big and scary at first, but it's actually like a shortcut method. So if a polynomial is divided by x minus c, just like this is x minus 2, c is just like a placeholder for a number, then the remainder is f of c. Here's what this means. If I am dividing by this, and I set it equal to 0, and I get x by itself, so I'm going to add 2. X equals 2. If I take that number 2 and I replace all the x's with number 2, then the number I get is going to be my remainder. So I'm going to replace all the x's with the number 2. Okay, and I'm just going to type that in my calculator. and I get negative 28. That means if I had divided this, I would have gotten negative 28. So I'm going to work it out over here just to show you that you actually get negative 28. So if I had done this problem, I would have got my answer is x minus 29. My remainder is negative 28. So either way you do it, you can find the remainder really quickly. Okay, so I want you to try this one. You can either do long division and make it really complicated, or you could set this equal to 0. You get x equals negative 5. Replace all the x's with negative 5 and see what you get. Pause the video and actually try it. 1, 2, 3. So you get negative 56. So if you were to do that long division, it would take you a long time. Not long. Anyways, your remainder would be negative 56. So the remainder theorem is just a shortcut to getting the actual remainder. You don't get the answer, just the remainder. Okay, so I want you to go on Haiku and try your assignment and ask me if you have questions. That's what I'm here for. Bye.